Welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. And this week, once again, we're going to see how far we can test the limits of my English sexual repression. Dear God, David Malofsky, why do you keep making me doing this? I'm in British. This is not my comfort zone. Oh, cue the music. Hello there, capers, and as I said, welcome to Podcapers, the official podcast for a place to hang your cape. My name is Scott James Merridew, and this is a show where I talk about various geek and nerd-related topics, and I'm joined each week by a very special different guest. She's been on the show tons of times before, you'll remember her. Give it up for a place to hang your cape's cosplay hero, Kit Putty Geeks Horsley!
Hello!
How are you, Kit?
I'm good, I'm back again. Can't get rid of me.
As hard as we try. Nah, just kidding. We love having you on the show. Especially when it comes to talking about cosplay. Because as I said, you're a place to hang your cape's cosplay hero. So it's safe to say, Kit, you know a little bit about cosplay.
Yeah, just a little bit. I do it sometimes, now and then.
Like every single comic convention you need to go. We've all seen the pictures. We've all seen the videos. If any of you capers care to venture past the Place to Hang Your Cape YouTube channel, you'd have seen her doing interviews with many prominent cosplayers, going about town and getting some really interesting perspectives out there. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today, because there's a perspective, an issue that's come up more and more and more, and that is this idea of, and my Englishness will not permit me to say this, but I'm going to have to anyway, because it's my job, sexy cosplay.
Yeah, that's the reaction of a lot of the community at the moment. I think none of us want to say it.
But here's the thing. I think it's something that should be discussed. So I've talked about on the show before. My personal stance is that yes, I am very, very repressed, but I am also very sex positive. I think it should be talked about. Just because it makes me incredibly uncomfortable does not mean it's a bad thing. Lots of really nice things make me uncomfortable. It's just because I'm a broken human being, it's just who I am. And it's something that needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about. And I think, Kit, you're the best person to talk to about it, don't you think?
Considering I'm equally as uncomfortable as you, this could be interesting, but we could give it a go. Let's see how much we can manage to say.
Damn it, Kit, I was hoping you were the one who wouldn't be uncomfortable. No,
I'm equally British and repressed. It's a countrywide problem.
It is. It's an epidemic of, ooh, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I swear the entirety of our entire nation, our entire United Kingdom, is just divided between people who are just raging perverts and people just like, oh my, oh no, I couldn't possibly, oh dear, oh me, oh my, oh no, this is wrong,
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh my, oh no.
I think the best thing with that is when you meet people who are very open, because you just we don't know how to react. And I feel like you become 10 times more British when you're confronted with a person like that. It's like you can hear your own Britishness when someone comes up and starts telling you about someone they met and had a one-night stand with, start telling you all the details of it. And you're like, whoa, oh, okay, no, I couldn't possibly discuss that with you. It's completely inappropriate.
Seriously, Grandma, why would you bring this up on my birthday? Honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, different kinds of
problem.
people. It is a problem, but just because it's a problem for us, I really do believe that just because something makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean that, as I say, it is bad or it shouldn't be discussed. Because because I'm made uncomfortable by a lot of things, and I am fully aware that is 100% completely and totally and utterly my problem and my problem alone. I sometimes get a little bit squicky when I see people kissing in public, even though I have in fact myself done that. But
when it's you,
different when it's me. But when I see it, I was like, no. But I would never go over to those people and tell them, hey, don't do that because it makes me uncomfortable, because that is the action of a bastard. And you can apply that to almost any scenario, whether it be kissing or anything, or one of the big topics is breastfeeding in public. It makes me supremely uncomfortable, but you know what I do when I see it? I just do this magical thing called looking away.
Yeah.
That's all you do. Just don't tell them, no, you can't do that. How dare some people tell other people, hey, stop feeding and nourishing your baby child. How dare you do it? Because it makes me uncomfortable. Thank you very much, bastards.
I think that's something we could do with applying in a lot of things, isn't it? It seems to be a growing problem, or maybe just growing awareness of. Let's just put a rule in place. Just don't tell someone to not do something because it bothers you, unless they are doing something actually wrong, say beating someone up. But other than that, don't push your own preferences on other people. That would be a good general rule for humans.
Yeah, if a woman was feeding a baby and then suddenly grabbed my head with her free hand and made me look, then I would feel inclined to say, actually, could you not? Although, again, I would be very polite about it. But I'm terribly sorry because you maybe not force me into this. Could you possibly? You're quite insistent. Okay, fine. Okay, just go to my happy place, close my eyes, and think of England.
Good old British culture. It's great for us, isn't it?
Rule Britannia with marmalade and jam. Who threw sausages at my old man?
It's going to be one of these episodes, isn't it?
It is. What do you mean, one of these? Every episode is like this, dear God. We just peered deeper and deeper into my psyche and realised just how broken I am.
Just various levels of uncomfortable on different episodes.
Yeah, but on the other hand, though, I do think it is okay to be uncomfortable by certain things, as long as you don't interfere. If something makes you uncomfortable, fine, because that's you and you're allowed to feel uncomfortable. That's your prerogative. Just don't pull a Piers Morgan and judge people for it.
Oh, God. No, let's not say that name, because then it's going to be an episode about him and I can't.
No, none of us can. None of us can.
That's a very thin ice for me.
But enough about the Lord Arseface. Let's talk about the cosplay. So this can be applied very obviously to cosplay because, and I think before then we need to sort of actually define what makes cosplay sexy, because there may be some people out there who wear cosplay that is revealing, but it wouldn't necessarily be intended to be sexy. You know, it is not designed for titillation. It is merely an exposure of a significant proportion of the human form. I didn't think it was possible for me to get even more uncomfortable than with this intro, but I'm managing. I'm getting there.
I think the problem with defining it is, and this is something I've been trying to discuss with people in videos for a while, there isn't really a definition of it. It's a very personal thing. What one person considers a sexy or an inappropriate costume could be perfectly fine to someone else. So I think it's very much, by each person what they consider a sexy cosplay. But we've all got a general definition of what we can almost all agree on what it is, and that, without being shady, because I think this is part of the problem, is cosplayers like Yaya Han and Jessica Negri get lumped into this category that they're just a sexy cosplayer and nothing more. And I think it's a very, very unfair box that we've all started putting people into.
Yeah, A, because, don't pigeonhole them, and B, because even if that was the thing that they did and just what they did, there's nothing wrong with that.
No. That's the attitude shouldn't be that's all they do just because it's something that you don't agree with.
It should be the attitude should be that is what they do.
And they enjoy it, so let them be. But that's an attitude we could do for everything in life, isn't it, Jess? They enjoy it. It's not harming anyone. Just let them be.
Yeah, but unfortunately, there's a lot of busybodies out there. I'm slightly delving into hypocritical waters there because as a critic, I do kind of spend a lot of my time telling people what they should and shouldn't do with regards to movies. But then again, that is a work of art that is a sum total of lots of work by lots of different people and is not necessarily attributed to one single person, and it cannot be considered as a personification of a single person, whereas cosplay is a work of art, but it's much more personal.
Yeah, and it's very much, there's a fine line between critiquing art and telling someone how to live their lives, and that's where it becomes a problem with cosplay. You can dislike someone's costume, that's absolutely fine, there's no problem with that, no one's going to like everything, but the line becomes an issue when you're either forming a kind of witch hunt attitude against any kind of sexy cosplay and sending hate online, or, God forbid, what we know is a problem with some people, going up to someone and telling them they shouldn't be wearing a costume. Because who are you?
Hello, random person who's telling me how to live my life. I have a suggestion for you. There's a direction which you can fuck. It is called off.
Yeah. It's unfortunately an issue, but I think the problem is that it's becoming normal. This is where I'm starting to be quite concerned. The last time I was on talking about cosplay with you, I said I'd managed to get swept up in some toxic attitudes. And I think it's very difficult not to in a community like cosplay. There's a lot of people, you all get your own group and you start taking on kind of opinions that are around you. And I think that's happening for a lot of us in regards to sexy cosplay. There's starting to be this very disapproving attitude that just kind of you don't notice that you have. And I think that's something we could address.
I think it's because when we judge other people, it's like we're trying to make ourselves feel better about ourselves. Like, because it's... And here's the thing, though, that is a terrible thing to do because... And I'm well aware that I do this a lot when I judge movies, but here's the thing. Just because you judge someone else does not make you any better of a person, whether by comparison or otherwise, because you haven't done anything. You have not improved yourself in any way. You've not risen above in any way. All you've done is try and tear someone down. That doesn't mean, just because, like, you blast the summit of another mountain doesn't make your mountain any taller. By God, that's a terrible metaphor because, you know, how much dynamite would you need to blow the top of a mountain? But still, I think it's apt.
Yeah, that is a big problem that we have. I think it's one of these things, like I was saying to you the last time, that, you know, there needs to be more conversation. It's one of many things within the community. There needs to be conversation. People need to be open to talking about it and why they have that attitude. And only then are you going to make people think about it a bit more, which is why I've been bringing it up in a lot more of my interviews. I kind of want to get a scope of what the opinion is, where it lies, how it's spreading, and then maybe start challenging that. We'll see.
And I think it's also important to get this out because what we decide now and what we discuss now and what we do now is probably going to influence the next generation of cosplayers.
Absolutely.
Because if they hear, oh, a lot of people don't like the fact that they're doing sexy, open quotation marks, costumes, then they might be discouraged from doing it, and we might miss out on some really talented people do some really good stuff.
I think it's important to realise that there are a lot of reasons for doing it. And that's the biggest misconception I'm seeing at the moment. Is very much, there is a lot of parallels with these people that we all know about that do the whole testing girls to see if they're really a geek, you know? There's a lot of parallels with that because I find a lot of the hate you see towards sexy cosplay from males, at least, and big generalization, but the general opinion I see on that side that they don't like it is, oh, well, they're just using cosplay to springboard themselves into a career, whether that be voice acting, modeling, you know, whatever they're doing. They're taking their clothes off now and using cosplay as a way to get attention so they can springboard into something else, and they're not really into it.
Okay, first of all, that's bullshit. Second of all, even if that was what they were doing, again, what's wrong with that? They're branding themselves and getting their work out there. There's so many places people do that. You know,
it's part of that elitist attitude. I've said that to people who have said it to me and just gone, I get what you mean, because I feel it sometimes when you're struggling as a cosplayer to create stuff, you're not getting the same response, and someone comes along and poses in their underwear with a wig and gets a massive response. It's hard not to feel bitter about that. But
maybe they really like, you know, Underwear McNee, the Underpants Fairy character, you know?
But it's important to reflect on why you're feeling that. It's nothing really to do with that person and the way they're cosplaying. That's about you. And when people have said it to me, I've just said, yeah, I've felt like that. But what you need to ask is, what's wrong with that? It's an elitist thing of everyone who comes into cosplay must be doing it because they want to be a cosplayer and they're really keen on, you know, geeky stuff and that's their life. Well, it's not everyone's. And what's wrong with using that as a door into modelling? Not everyone is here for the same reason, and that's fine.
I mean, like, you can judge people's motivations all you like, even though that is pretty much virtue signaling, but at the same, it's the results that matter. Like, would you, by that logic, if you knew for a fact that someone was dressing up in sexy cosplay because they genuinely wanted to, you wouldn't judge them. But then again, they're still dressing up in sexy cosplay, which you were judging for the person who you thought were doing it just to further their career. Like, it's the same result.
Yeah, and but that attitude has become so normal. You hear it coming from a lot of people that haven't really thought about it. They're bitter because they're working hard on their costumes and they see somebody else being successful, and from the outside it looks like they're not having to do much for that success. And really, it's, you don't hate that person for themselves. You're angry at them as a reflection on what you're feeling. You feel like you're not being noticed, but it's not that person's fault that they are. They're doing what they love and people enjoy it, and that's just that. If that's making you annoyed at other people, perhaps you need to think a bit more about what you're doing and why you're doing it, rather than what that person's doing.
Yeah, again, it's internalization. Focus on yourself. Like, even if you know that what this other person doing is so wrong, then just be better than them. I don't think there is anything wrong with what they're doing, but if you do, fine, okay. Focus on you. Elevate yourself. Express yourself. Treat yourself.
It's something I used to be really frustrated by, and amazingly, one of the things that really changed my mind on it was Jessica Negri's documentary. I don't know if you got around to watching that, but it really, really opened my eyes to it a lot. But actually, she works really hard, and she's worked really hard to be where she is, and it gave me a whole different perspective on, actually, it's still completely an art form, and it's still something they have to work hard at, and yeah, they deserve to be successful. It's not harming anyone.
Yeah, that's the thing. See, it's not harming anyone. If it's like, it's what is okay? Let's say hypothetical nightmare future alternate reality world where people just do sexy cosplay just for the worst possible reasons. So fucking what? Like, what again? Who does it really harm? Who gets hurt? I can't think of anyone. It's like, it's not like they'd be taking jobs away from other people who are doing other kinds of cosplay, because I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
No. And that's something, one of the interviews I did the con before last with Dave, he's Rocket Penguin cosplay, I think his page is. I asked him about this because I wanted to get a male perspective, because you see a lot of opinions online, not 100% sure how true it is, but I think there's some truth to it, of males not getting the same response in cosplay as females, because there is the ability that you can do a sexy cosplay and instantly get a boost in followers, but there's not that same response when a male does it, so they can't grow as quickly from doing that. And so I asked him about it, and he said, well, in context to what? I said, well, in context to, if you want to be successful and you want to make something of yourself in cosplay, do you think it's easier for women because of that? And he just gave me a fantastic answer of saying, do you know what? Success in cosplay is so unimportant. Let's be real. The chances are 1 in a million of making your career similar to Yaya Han or Jessica Negri, who've been very successful. That time has been and gone. There's plenty of cosplayers now. It's not going to happen. He was like, it's just not going to happen. Cosplay for the right reasons. And numbers on your page and followers and all of that, they're just internet numbers. They don't mean anything. And I think having had that conversation with him, it really did, again, open my eyes a bit. I'm like, he's entirely right. If you're cosplaying as someone who really loves it, but your focus is to make a career out of it, and all that matters is whether or not you're getting any further with that, you're kind of losing the point of still doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay if you do want to make a career out of it, but at the same time, it's your career, not anyone else's. And if it is such a competitive market, you've got to be aware of that before going into it.
Yeah, your chances are very slim. You could make it, but don't put your whole life on it, and don't let it destroy your life.
And also, it is supposed to be at least a little bit fun. Yes, there are professional artists out there who paint and draw and write and sculpt professionally, but they still enjoy it and do it for artistic reasons. And if you focus on enjoying it, then it's not really work. And even if you're not successful, you'll still have a good time.
Absolutely. And I think sexy cosplay is bringing a lot of those feelings up, because people are seeing other people be successful. And I think, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the general problem is they're bitter. You see someone be successful and you're bitter that you can't do it, because you don't want to you're not as comfortable with your body, or you don't want to be on the internet in a small outfit, or you just that's not your style of cosplaying, and you're bitter that you can't be as successful by doing the same thing. And I entirely get that because I've been there, but it's not the other cosplayers' fault, and it's not fair to blame sexy cosplay for that.
Yeah, it's like if you want to be envious of other cosplayers, fine, I guess. But again, not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Not even really anyone's fault unless you've done something horribly wrong with your cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's difficult. The other thing we were talking about was that there's many reasons to do it, and no one can ever be sure of anyone's reason for doing it, honestly. If someone's trying to do it for a career, the likelihood of them telling you that is, very low anyway. But even so, there are so many more reasons to do sexy cosplay than just, I want attention or I want a career, which, by the way, both of those are fine too.
yeah.
But there's so many more reasons. So, we're by shutting that out because we think there has to be the right reason for doing it. You're also shutting out the possibility of all the positives of it.
Yeah,
You know,
they could be doing it because they feel it's very affirming for them. It's
Yeah.
very self-esteem boosting, and it's very body positivity spreading. Or maybe they're just doing it because they like the character that they're cosplaying. There's a million
Yeah.
and one reasons.
That's the thing, it's very hypocritical because people blame cosplayers, oh, this sexy cosplay, it's taking away attention from other stuff and it's fake and all of that. But actually, a lot of the characters, particularly the female characters who are created in this community, so in the geek fandom, are very naked a lot of the time. They are characters that are drawn that way, are created that way. And
Which
so
is
how
a bit
can
of a
you
problem.
criticize someone?
Yeah, which is a bit of a problem in the way these characters are created. But again, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Dependent upon the character, I've made my opinions about how certain female characters and certain superhero things are drawn in terms of a practicality issue made very clear before. But at the same time, but even then, you could just the great thing about cosplay is it's a great chance for reinvention. You can do serious dark Sailor Moon or super sexy Batman or whatever, which is basically what Joel Schumacher did. But anyway, and I don't know. It's one of those things where it's just an interpretation, if anything, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the same thing is they keep on going back to it's sexism, which means it's bad. Sorry, sexiness, which means it's bad. Sexism is definitely bad. But what's so wrong with being sexy? Because with the possible exception at least, of asexual people, we all like sexy things. We all do, and if you say you don't, then you're lying. I'm repressed as hell, but that's still an intrinsic part of me because I'm a heterosexual man. That is something that I am gonna like. It's something that I am psychologically, and some people like these things to varying degrees. Some people like it a lot, and some people only like it a little, and that's fine either way. But it's something that, again, we all like. So why do we rail against it like it's such a bad thing? Because it's something we all came from it. We all came from sex and sexiness, unless artificially inseminated. Modern life is confusing.
It is. The thing is, it's tricky because the first impression I had when I first started having these conversations is that the main issue against it was coming from the male side and other people. I'm not saying there's not females that do this, but the general kind of gatekeeper of the geek community people, where you can't be a geek if you're doing X, Y, and Z. And I thought that was the main issue causing the negative response to sexy cosplay. But the more I spoke to people and the more I also analysed my own behaviour and what I wasn't comfortable with, I think, honestly, that girls are the biggest problem.
Ooh.
I think our response to it, we're either intimidated or we're bitter that this person's getting more attention than us, or we're jealous that I wish I was confident enough to do that, or I wish I was her size, or whatever the internal dilemma is. I think we're just as bad at hating each other as we are at receiving, hate from other people.
Because we're all human, and unfortunately we're kind of geared towards that as human beings. But my question is, how much do we think of that is just a woman's reaction, and how much of that is because that's what they think they're meant to do because of this patriarchal society we live in?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of the problem is some of us do it because we're just insecure people. I am one of those. I will entirely hold my hands up to that and say occasionally I'll look at other cosplayers and be like, oh, hate her. And then immediately catch myself and be like, why? Why am I doing that? It's something some of us have an issue with. Other people, I think we're just trained to do that. Women, when you're young, you're very much trained to kind of take down other girls. It's very deeply ingrained into your head that every other female is in competition with you. And it's something that I think, especially within this community, we've got really bad at like grouping into two different groups. Like, yes, the sexy cosplayers and the non-sexy cosplayers, and the non-sexy ones hate the sexy ones. And it's totally bizarre.
It is. I mean, I was very fortunate because I recently went to MCM Glasgow with someone who was very much into cosplay, sort of dipping a toe into the waters, as it were. And she saw all these cosplayers, and she was freaking out because she loved them so much. And I was just like, well, go up and talk to them and talk to them about how much you like their cosplay. And she did so. And it was a really good time with her because she was talking about how much she liked them, including the sexy ones. And there were quite a few of them. I mean, I assume there were a few of them I looked away. Because again, repressed!
Like, don't know where to look.
I find the eyes, just look at the eyes, or your shoes, either or.
It is difficult, and I think there needs to be a more dedicated effort to raise each other up rather than tearing each other down. If you're uncomfortable around someone, if someone makes you feel insecure, do you know what? Fight that and go up and tell them how amazing they look. It's not going to kill you, and it'll teach you something.
You say that, it might kill me. My blood pressure might skyrocket and my head would pop off.
I've started making, probably in the last year, a significant effort. I've always, in the time I've done cosplay, gone up and told people their costumes look amazing. Even if I'm just running past, on my way to something and I see a costume I think is really cool, I'll literally just run up and be like, hi, can't stop, but you look awesome, and run off. But I've made more of an effort in the last year.
Just run up to them, I like you! And then run away.
Basically, yeah. I've made friends that way. It's bizarre.
How do you make friends after you run off?
One of these Alice cosplayers I went up to had just the most beautiful Alice in Wonderland dress, and I was in a rush to get to a shoot and just kind of tapped her on the shoulder as I was going past and was like, sorry, I'm rushing so I can't stop, but I just wanted to tell you your costume looks amazing, it's absolutely perfect. And obviously she was like, oh, thank you, and it's like, I have to go anyway, bye, lovely to meet you, and ran off. And
oh my god, you're like the rabbit. You're like the rabbit.
Yeah, I am like the rabbit. It turned out she was in the same Facebook group as me, the LSCC and Beyond. So when I posted in there, she then commented and she was like, "Oh, you're that girl."
The time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late.
So I've always done that, but the last year I've made more of an effort to go up to sexy cosplayers and just say your costume looks awesome, and because I think just because you're dressed like that, it doesn't mean you're full of confidence. Yeah. I've worn some more revealing costumes and spent the entire day feeling like I'm going to be sick. So somebody coming up to you and saying you look great is really nice, especially when you feel like the whole community is judging you.
Yeah, it is the nicest thing you could say to someone in a corset, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Considering the rest of the day you're going to have people walk past and try and stick their head down your corset.
Oh my god, lovely. Really? It's just like, hello, sploop.
I had with
like a cleavage is the sand and they're an ostrich head.
Basically, yeah. Last time I wore Ivy, so this May just gone, I had a breast reduction the year before last and then tried to rewear the costume and realised obviously it didn't quite fit anymore. And that meant the corset stuck out quite a lot, which was fine in my head. I'm like, that's fine. I'll just pull it in as much as I can and I'll try and keep an eye on it. But I had a very tall guy walk past me earlier in the day and fully lean over to get a proper view down my corset. And that was maybe 10 minutes into the con. And I was just like, I changed my mind. I want to go home and get changed.
Ew.
It's horrible. It's really gross. It's the downside of sexy cosplay at a con.
I mean, it's very easy to say, again, showing my privilege, but I would never understand people who do that because I look the other way. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
What do you think you're gonna find down there? Oh, look, buried treasure.
It's horrible, honestly, and people say the grossest things to you in this.
I hate to ask, but what are some of the examples of things that people have said?
God. So I have a general rule: if I'm wearing a sexy cosplay, so like Ivy, or I did a pin-up version of Captain America a year or so ago. I have a rule with Carl that he is not allowed to leave my side all day, because I'm just so afraid.
This will be your
someone's gonna
partner,
grope me.
Carl.
Yes, because obviously he's like 6'6". I've generally found when he's around, I get less comments.
Holy
amazingly.
crap!
Yeah.
Really?
So, as you can imagine, people tend to stay away from me if I'm standing next to him.
Yeah, standing
still
next to
get-
fucking the mountain from Game of Thrones. Yeah, I would stay away.
But you still get the occasional idiot who will still come up to you anyway. But I generally say to him, if I'm in something very minimal, you need to be at my side at all times. That's the plan. It doesn't, generally he's with me most of the day, but he'll go off to get me a drink or something, or he'll have to go and do a shoot, and he'll be like, just stay where you are, so that if you're in trouble, I can come back and get you. So we tend to do that, so I get less of a problem. But this con just gone.
Oh, go on.
It didn't stop it. He went off to do shoots because he started obviously doing photos for a place to hang your cape now. So he went off to do shoots, and there was just me and Holly. And you find people just come up to you from, can I take your picture? And then they'll say, oh, I'd love to take you home. And you're like,
what?
Really?
Oh, well, since you offered, okay, fine, lead the way. Why? What do you think is going to happen?
It's honestly, it's disgusting. It makes me so uncomfortable. I never know how to react. It's just bizarre. People just come out with really odd stuff, or they just, blatantly look down your top, or, and you're just, I never know how to react to it. I'm always just a bit like, oh, okay, go away, please.
I will, again, showing the privilege, but I will never understand that mindset, because it's not funny, it's not smooth, it's not charming, you're not James Bond, because James Bond never said anything like that.
No.
I mean, oh god, it's so
gross.
It's gross and it's weird, and it's just, what do you think is going to happen?
When I was Cap, we had I didn't even realize this had happened until like the day after, but Carl went off. I can't remember where he went, but he went to do something, and I was wandering around in Cap, and I just found this magical effect would happen, and this is why he has to stay with me, is the second that he would walk away, I would get swamped by men.
Oh.
The second he was gone, photographers would come up to me, or guys would just come up with their phones to take pictures and then would just not go away. Or like I was trying to get up the stairs and I only had one bag, really a huge bag, and just like tried to pick up this little bag, and this guy, as soon as Carl wasn't there, came running over and was like, oh, can I help you with that? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. He's like, no, really, you look like you need help, and just took my bag and started walking ahead of me. And I was like, okay, how do I get rid of this guy?
Let's say you did genuinely look like you needed help. You said no. You said, no, I'm fine. Like, if I saw a person on crutches, head tilted at a weird angle, or blood seeping out of their nose, and said, do you need help? And they said no, I would say okay and back off. Because you said no. How many fucking PSAs do we need to do before people understand the meaning of that frickin' 2-letter word?
Yeah. So, all of that, I think having experienced this now, so adds to my respect for people that are willing to do sexy cosplay, because it isn't easy. I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand, that judge sexy cosplayers on what they do. Oh, it's easy money, it's easy attention, it's easy this. It's not easy. It's scary. You are putting yourself in danger every second you're outside in that costume.
I see, that makes me very, very angry, because Comic-Cons are supposed to be a safe place where we come together to celebrate geek culture and talk about the things we like and experience the things we like and get stuff for the things we like and see people from the things we like, and it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be fun and a completely non-threatening environment. And you just said you don't feel safe in these places when you dress up like this. It's insane.
It's absolutely, I think the cons are doing a lot for it, but if I'm perfectly honest, I don't wear sexy cosplay very often, because I have to, there's so much to think about when you're in that kind of costume. You have to be hyper aware all day, and it's exhausting. I have to think twice about every photo shoot that I book that day. Do I know the person? Where am I meeting them? Does somebody know where I am if I can't get someone to chaperone me? And that's every part of every day. Every person that comes up and asks for a photo, you have to think twice about whether they're going to ask if they can put their hand on you or just touch you. If they just touch you, how am I going to deal with it? If they won't go away, how do I get help? And it's horrible. It's a really awful way to feel.
Yeah, I mean, I just get stressed out thinking about the crowds at Comic-Cons. I can't deal with
Yeah.
all that.
You walk through crowds, and I'm very, very fortunate this has never happened to me, but it has happened to friends of mine, that you walk through crowds and you just feel someone touch you and they're immediately gone, and you have no idea who it is in that crowd. And sometimes you can be stuck with that person. If you think sometimes you're walking through like the main hall of con trying to get somewhere and the crowd just stops and you get stuck for a while. If someone's just touched you, you know someone in that immediate area has grabbed you. You're on your own and you can't get out. And it's horrible. You can't get help because you can't move enough to flag down security and you don't know who it was.
Oh.
Yeah.
I apologize for men. I apologize for men.
I had it happen to a friend who I won't mention the name of in front of me and had to be physically pulled away from this guy so I didn't get removed from the con because I saw who did it. I saw the second it happened, she turned to me and was like a face of pure horror, and I still had my eyes on him and he was still within an arm's reach, so I just grabbed the back of his shirt and pulled him closer to me and I was like, you fucking touch her again, I will end you.
Yeah.
And had to be pulled off him.
Yeah, I think you were entirely justified in doing that because it's assault.
Yeah.
They are assaulting someone, just like if they punch someone or kick someone or slap someone or grab someone. It's assault, so you fucking tell them to back off and you show that physically if necessary in order to defend your friend or yourself.
I'm not... There's a thing, and a lot of women do this, I'm very guilty of this. I'm not very good at defending myself. I think if it's yourself, you're a little bit more intimidated and you're a little bit more like, oh, it's fine. I'll deal with it later, or oh, it's fine, I'll just be quiet so that they go away. But I have a real temper issue if it's a friend, and that's where I keep saying we need to have these signs up at con, and this needs to be dealt with because one of these days I'm going to get banned, and that's not going to be because someone's touched me. It's going to be because I've seen someone touch one of my friends.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
There needs to be genuine consequences to that. You identify that person, you take them into a separate room, you take their photo, and you circulate it to all the other cons.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, this person does not gain admittance.
Is knowing who it is. You've been to Comic Cons when you're in those crowds.
Yeah.
You couldn't possibly tell who touched you if someone grabs you. No. You haven't got a clue. And they're gone within about 30 seconds because they know they need to get out of there. And it's just one of many issues the cons are cracking down on. The other one is obviously the photos. I think we talked about this before with people taking horrible photos of you either when you aren't looking or, it's another issue again that unfortunately if you're in a sexy cosplay, it does tend to, it's hard to word it right, but basically put a target on you. It's not fair and it's not right, but it entirely does. All day you feel like you're walking around with a target on your back because it's just the amount of crap that you attract is ridiculous. I've had so many pictures taken of my butt at cons. It's ridiculous.
What is people's obsession with arses? They're for sitting on!
It's the weirdest thing is that you just entirely don't know how to react because you know fully well what they're doing. They know what they're doing. But there's always that moment of doubt in your head that you're like, if I go up and confront this person, what if they genuinely are zooming just past me to take a picture of something and I've just, shouted at them or whatever it is.
Yeah, but I think given the scenario and the situation you often find yourself in and other people find themselves in, I think you're justified in doing a little bit of a shout, and in worst case scenario they say, oh wait, sorry, it was an accident. Ooh, look, I've deleted it now. But
it's tricky.
maybe you shouldn't be aiming, down below people's waist.
Yeah.
Why would you even? What's so compelling about the floor that you need to take a photo of it?
The funniest thing was the last time it happened to me was as Jinx. And this goes back to what we said earlier about everyone's definition being different. Now, I don't particularly consider Jinx a sexy cosplay. And maybe that's because I didn't overly think about the costume. My focus was much more on the giant shark gun. That was my, this is going to be great.
Wait, Jinx has a shark gun? I don't remember that from the Pokemon TV series.
Yeah, wrong Jinx.
Oh, right.
League of Legends.
Thank God. I was wondering, who's getting turned on by Jinx? Jeez.
No, Jinx, skinny little Jinx with the giant guns. That's her.
I don't want to see that in the Detective Pikachu movie.
She wears small pink shorts and a little pink top. Now, at the time, this was prior to my breast reduction, so there was no way in hell I was doing her top, because her top is basically a belt round beneath her boobs, and then 2 little triangles that cover her boobs. And I was just like, that's not going to happen for me. No way.
I'm sorry, I cringed very heavily when you said that B-O-O-B word.
This girl is maybe a size 6, maybe smaller. She's like a stick. So she has no curves, which is fine. But most people have slightly more curves than that. So that costume is not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I had a proper top. It was a crop top, sure, but it was a full top. Nothing was hanging out. A normal length pair of shorts. Wasn't like I had booty shorts or half my butt out. Like regular shorts and a pair of boots. And like little ankle flat boots, military boots. Like,
Okay.
so when you then see someone zooming in on your butt, you're like, I don't understand.
What do you people want from me?
Well, you're more looking and thinking, I'm sure if you got like a magazine, you would see more butt than I am showing right now. I don't understand why you even want to take a picture of this.
I mean, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure if you just like did a Google image search with the safe search off, you find way more interesting stuff. I daren't look myself, but I'm sure.
It's completely bizarre. You understand if it's a certain character, or if it's a character that is in something a bit more sexy. But I just personally didn't think a crop top and a normal length pair of shorts was particularly exciting.
This is going back to beyond the Middle Ages sort of thing, and that's, you can't control what sort of reaction people like, and you shouldn't have to. You should wear whatever the fuck you want. I'm a big believer, more and more actually as time goes on, that you should just wear whatever the fuck you want. Like, I am comfortable in my jeans and my t-shirt and my green hoodie and my black leather jacket and my red and blue 3D glasses, and that's quite happily. I'd be like a cartoon character, just wear that all the year round, even during the winter and in Christmas and stuff. But if I genuinely wanted to wear a lovely gingham dress, then I would fucking wear a gingham dress and I wouldn't care who knew it. I mean, okay, I would be a bit comfortable by people staring, but you know what? I would like it, and I think it'd work for me, and let's be honest, I have the legs for it. So, so it works, because you can wear whatever the fuck you want. More and more, I think we're moving away from a society that genderizes, I'm pretty sure that's not a word, like the clothing section in shops.
Yeah.
I think more and more we're moving away from that. There'll always be certain things because there are certain physiological differences. Generally speaking, like I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get away with a lot of women's crop tops. I don't know, or maybe I would. You don't know. Maybe I'd work it.
We never know where fashion's gonna go.
Exactly. You can wear whatever the fuck you want, and. And especially, and I think more and more we need to make sure that we don't limit certain things. I understand there's a big deal with like a lot of women's clothing not having pockets.
Oh God, yeah, don't get me started on that.
No, I'll get you started. Talk about it.
It's terrible. It's just awful. I've been trying to get Carl to understand this the whole time we've been together, because prior to meeting me, I'm pretty sure he was completely clueless to the fact that some women's jeans have fake pockets.
What? No, it's not even like no pockets, just no pockets. Fake pockets.
Yeah, they look like pockets because jeans should have pockets, and then you try and put your hand in it and they're sewed up. And
so,
you're like,
so they're lying jeans then.
Yes, this is a thing. So Carl has always found it annoying if I don't take a handbag or a backpack out with me, because I'm constantly giving him my purse, my keys, and my phone. Because he has like 10 pockets and they're huge. So, he wears these like...
You are my purse now, Carl!
He wears, the jeans with the like 10 pockets, the huge like cargo pockets in them. I'm like, well, you have 1,000,000 pockets. You can take my crap.
You're not using them?
Yeah, that's my process. If I can't be bothered to take a bag, sometimes I'll just hand him stuff. And it only gets annoying when we're in and out of shops, and I'm like, can I have my purse? Can I have my phone? They have that back. Can I have my purse again, actually?
This is literally the only reason why I brought you, Carl.
But over time, he has started to realise, as he sees me buying more clothes and going out with stuff. Like, we went out not so long ago, and I had like smart trousers, a long cardigan on, and another top that looked like it should have pockets in it. And he turned to I turned to him and said, can you take my phone for a sec? And he's like, okay. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, can you take my purse, actually? And he's like, don't you have any pockets? And I'm like, no, I don't have any pockets anywhere. And he just looked at me in complete bewilderment and like looked at the entire outfit. And he's like, how can you not have any pockets?
Because blame fucking H&M.
I was like, because apparently women don't need them, it would seem. Like, no, it's just terrible. Like, you know this, I'm sure you've come across this. If a skirt has pockets, if a girl is wearing a skirt with pockets, she will 100% tell you there are pockets on that skirt.
That has literally never happened to me. I don't know why you would assume that. I don't. I mean,
Because
I
it's
don't
so
have the.
rare, I guess.
I don't have the best memory, but never ever once had a conversation with any woman about the pocket quotient of her skirts. I don't think I've ever had a conversation about skirts at all with any woman, or indeed fashion in general. I tend to avoid such topics. Again, same clothes all year round. It's not really my area of expertise.
Okay, I'll test you on this. The amount of girls I have said to, oh, it's a really nice skirt. The first thing that we'll say in response if it's got pockets is, thanks, it's got pockets. And they're like so excited about it. And the stupid thing is, because I'm also a girl, I'll be like, really? Like, that's amazing.
Oh my
so
god.
Stupid. But that's where we've come to. A skirt with pockets is like the most exciting thing on the planet.
I guess like fucking Anna Winter, get on this.
But I bought a skirt for Disney. I got a little like Disney themed skirt from a place I hadn't bought before.
Boo.
Haha. And walking around all day, obviously people in Disney, if you're wearing something like that, will say something. So all the characters I met were like, oh, I really like your skirt. And I found myself doing it to everyone. I was like, thanks, it has pockets.
Yeah, thanks, Donald Duck. I really appreciate that. I noticed you're not wearing anything down below. You sick pervert.
It's ridiculous. Honestly, it's so ridiculous. And the jeans thing is the worst of it, because jeans should have pockets. And even when you have them, there are certain pockets that I can like only get my fingers in, like up to my knuckles. And that's like...
So what's even the point of them? What are you going to put in there? Like a coin?
I have one pair of jeans that I can just about fit my phone in if I lay it sideways. But it's so just about that as soon as I bend at all, it comes out and it falls on the floor. And every time Carl sees me do it, he's like, what are you doing? Why do you keep dropping your phone? I have like a full tantrum, like, it's these fucking jeans. So stupid.
Wake up, Carl. Get woke.
And yet his pockets on any of his jeans really can fit his frigging massive Samsung phone in them. Like mini tablet sized phone. And I can't fit an iPhone in any of my pockets.
It's insane. It's sexist, is what it is. And
it's terrible.
It needs to change. So we're really going to a really broad, like sociological statement here. But I think this is part of an overarching problem.
Yeah.
With the sexism in our society, and problem is with any kind of bigotry, it's no longer just this one thing. It is now a broad spectrum of things. Racism is now not just lynching people for the color of their skin. It goes from that to, denying people jobs, to snide comments, or in like a small social gathering, and beyond that. And it's the same with
these
sexism.
people that say I wouldn't date a black man.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't believe you just said that out loud, and think it's absolutely fine to have just said that.
Oh, you've had that conversation, have you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God.
This is why I have a very small friendship group.
Yeah. I wonder which one of my friends will turn out to be bastards.
No, honestly, it's mad. Growing up, I had a huge LGBT group of friends. I grew up around a lot of gay people. I just gravitated towards them. And I think I had in my friendship group at school, I think I had one friend who was from this country. And that was it. The rest of my group, one of my best friend was Pakistani. My other friends, one was Ukrainian, one had moved from Malaysia. I had a couple from the Philippines. It was just, we were just a mixed group, like. And so
almost like they were all human beings.
Yeah, well, I guess as horrible as it is to say, we ended up being kind of the outcast group of school. That was the group that I was in. And back then, I mean, racism is bad now, but when I was a kid, it was much more blatant than it is now. It was very normal to use certain terms and to, alienate people because of it. That was just expected.
Yeah.
So obviously a lot of the cultural people in our school were in kind of the outcast group. But it's meant that I grew up very aware of these issues and very, I'm not perfect by no means. And I very often will say things and have to be told by someone that's offensive because of X, Y, and Z. And you learn from it. But it meant that I didn't grow up racist. And I grew up finding that kind of behavior completely insane from a very young age. And it's made it really difficult as an adult because I just see things and I don't understand how they're happening.
See, I had the opposite though, because a lot of I grew up in lots of different places, but for the most part they were kind of rural places. I know when I moved to Oxfordshire, I moved to like a stone skip away from a town called Whitney, which was the constituency of David Cameron. So as you can imagine, it was a rather conservative place. So it was not multicultural and not LGBTQIA positive at all. Calling someone gay was the worst insult in my school.
Yeah, it was when I was at school.
And it was one of those things where I just never had any... Because of that, I never really had any direct experience or direct realization of that kind of bigotry. It just didn't exist because there was no one to be bigoted against.
Yeah.
Just, bigoted against people who owned land and people who didn't, i.e. me. Because it was quite an affluent area at the time. And so it's something I had to learn quickly as an adult. And thankfully I learned that very, very quickly. Because it was weird because I moved from Oxfordshire to Southampton when I went to a university, which is a very multicultural place. And I remember going through the Asda whenever I lived at that place, and I saw basically all the aisles with all the different food from other different cultures. It was like, wow, that's neat.
Yeah.
You don't get that in the fucking Cotswolds.
Yeah, it is bizarre. It's fine to be like that though. If you were raised somewhere like that, that's not your fault. The issue is the people that were raised like that decide not to change.
Yeah.
And they see no problem with how they behave, despite being educated on those things. They're then like, oh, people are just snowflakes.
Ugh.
No, people are just humans. That deserve respect.
You don't get a free pass for prejudice.
No.
There's no excuse. You don't get that.
And bringing it back to sexy cosplay, I feel like,
Please.
again, that's closing the door on that. I was talking to David, actually, about this not so long ago and said, we're ignoring the positives of what could be done by this, by closing out sexy cosplay, because by ignoring it, we're allowing it to continue as what it is, which, to be perfectly frank, is skinny, white, blonde girls. On the whole, is what's successful. And that's maybe because we just want to ignore it and nobody wants to accept, but that is part of cosplay and it's fine and it's valid. But if there wasn't such a stigma against it, we could have better representation in that, and we could define for ourselves what sexy is. And we're missing that opportunity by demonizing it. If we accepted that it's a very empowering thing that people can do for many different reasons, more people could be involved in it and we could see better representation. But right now, everyone's a bit scared to do it because they don't want to be judged.
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to be judged, but, it depends who's judging you. I suppose if someone who you trust and respect is judging you, and the way they're judging you is like, I don't like this thing because of this, this, and this, maybe work on this, maybe it's something to take on board, maybe not. If there's some greasy oik who's, leering at you from across a room, maybe don't take that on board. Maybe that's not someone you should really be listening to. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's, it's just crossing that bridge, I guess, and getting more people to come out and give it a go if it's something you feel like you can do. I personally am a very insecure person and I'm not very comfortable showing my body, and I don't even particularly like having people look at me. I want to be a
You picked the wrong hobby.
There's a reason I went into that though, was that I was just sick of it. I don't even know how many times I said in school, I just want to be invisible. That was my main thing in life. I was like, I want to be as invisible as possible. But I look back on that now and I'm like, that's clearly where I was being bullied a lot, and I just kind of wanted people to stop seeing me. But as I got into cosplay and realized, I can be part of this thing where people dress up, I have slowly started doing things that are more out there because I want to challenge myself and I want to change that. And it has helped me grow as a person. And that's what I'm kind of trying to share with other people now. Maybe it's not for you, and that's fine. Nobody has to do it. But if it piques your interest and if you feel like taking a step out of your comfort zone, try it and see if it does that for you. Give yourself that opportunity.
Because, what's the worst thing that happens? We all live in a much more tolerant society that accepts people in a near naked or sometimes possibly even naked form. Oh no, then it's just going to be like the ancient Greek times where everything was awesome.
Yeah. I think there's a lot that needs to be done in a lot of directions. We all need to be more accepting of it. I think we definitely need some better representation within that category. And there needs to be, I don't know what, because I'm not involved enough to know, but there does still need to be more work done with making people feel safe doing it.
Yeah.
Because that's probably scaring off a lot more people than anything. It's scared me off, you know. And I've done it a few times, but after Ivy the last time, it just freaked me out.
Because if you don't have a support network, then it's almost like it's the impression that it gives is that what you're doing is wrong rather than the other way around.
Yeah.
If, you know, like you robbed a shop and the police didn't come, you think, well, how bad could it be? And then it's like when you get robbed, it's just like, well, the police didn't come, so obviously I deserve to get robbed. I mean, that's the mentality in this poorly worded analogy that I'm using, and I really should stop doing. But when someone does something wrong like that, whether it be judging someone or leering at someone or taking photos without their consent or assaulting them, invading the physical space and touching them without consent, there need to be fucking consequences. And as you say, I appreciate that it's difficult to do, especially in these crowded places, but have that rule at the very least be in place. Stamp it in big blazon letters across the entrance of the comic convention. If you do this, there will be consequences. And it won't stop it completely, but it might dissuade a few of the more foolhardy people from doing it.
And it helps others to feel safer as well. I can admit that going back to MCMs, especially since ReadPop have taken over and they have more signs, they have more security walking around, it does make you feel safer. And it does make you feel like there will be support if something happens. But I think there still needs to be kind of a behavioural shift.
Society needs to change, not just the conventions.
And it's funny, me and Carl were talking about this not long ago, about this kind of, I don't know, this like unspoken rule between females that there's like an agreement to look out for other females. So, you know, I've had times when I've been out in town on a night out where I've said to Carl, I would never leave a woman who looked drunk and on her own. And he's like, well, what if it's a threat to you? I'm like, I still wouldn't be able to walk past and leave her on her own. Last time we were in town, a long time ago, I found a girl out by herself, drunk on the floor in the street, and picked her up and helped her call one of her friends and put her in a taxi and paid for her taxi to go home because she didn't have any money on her. She was completely trashed. I didn't know if she'd been drugged. You know, you don't know what could happen to a girl left on her own in the street like that. And I've had it done for me. I've been on my own in a bar and had some guy hitting on me and been looking very uncomfortable and had a random girl come over and be like, oh, it's so nice to see you, and kind of step in between and then look at me and be like, are you okay? Do you need help? And, you know, we have that outside, but yeah, I don't seem to really notice that inside con between girls that are dressed in sexy cosplay. It's like we all turned a blind eye to them because we're like, oh, for God's sake.
Why do we suddenly adopt the pirate code? You know, pirate that gets left behind stays behind.
Yeah, and instead of that should carry across because anyone that's done sexy cosplay knows you're at risk. So instead of looking at them and being annoyed by them, we should be doing what we do on the outside and threat assessing. Looking at them and thinking, are they okay? Are they on their own? Is there anyone around them right now that they look uncomfortable with? You know?
Because it's important not only because we need to protect the current generation again, but also there are more and more kids coming to conventions. A lot of them are just simply cosplay. They see this happening and they see no consequences happening and don't see anyone looking out for each other. That's the mentality they are going to internalize, and that is not okay. We need to. Well, I think it's a bit late to nip it in the bud, but we need to stop the damage from getting any worse.
Absolutely. But that's another thing that's very worrying, and I get that that's probably also fueling some of the hate towards sexy cosplay, is that there are younger and younger cosplayers coming in and seeing people like Jessica Negri and Yaya Han and how they've become successful and thinking, if I just get a Patreon and take my clothes off, I'll be successful. And it is terrifying. You know, Patreon is constantly having to check the ages of some of these kids that are on there saying they're 18 and that you find out they're 15 years old posting underwear pictures as rewards for adults.
No,
you know, and so I understand that side of it, that people don't like that it's growing because kids are starting to see it and following on. But I just think we all need to be a bit more aware of kids and educating them that, you know, there are more ways to do cosplay than that. You know, you don't have to do that. If you want to, that's fine, but you need to be old enough. You need to think about the consequences in the future. currently you're 18 years old and cosplaying and becoming a model because of it sounds like a great idea. But if you decide by 22 that you've had enough of that, those pictures are on the internet forever of you at 18. You know, I think we need to be more stressing on education than blaming the entire sexy cosplay community for the actions of children.
Yeah, because we can't let these sort of things just be decided on an individual basis and figuring out. We need to. Again, this is cosplay is supposed to be a community, so act like a community and make sure that when you induct new members, they understand what the score is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's risky. I think we do need a bit more improvement in safety. I personally, I try not to be too scared away from it because I feel like being a little bit of an advocate for it myself. You know, it's trying to say to people it can be whatever you want it to be, and you can use it as a way of boosting your own confidence. And it's been very empowering for me, so I don't want to turn my back on it. But I also need to be able to feel safe. And at the moment, it's come to the point. I mean, you see that I cosplay a lot of anime boys. That's become a thing because I feel more comfortable as a male in a convention situation than I do as a female. Because as a day as a male character, I can enjoy the day with my friends and have selfies and, you know, take pictures and do stuff. And I do not get a single moment where I don't feel safe. Jeez. I don't have anyone come up and leer at me. I can go to photo shoots and know that nobody's going to try and touch me or pressure me into anything or make me uncomfortable. You know, it's a completely different convention when you're dressed as an anime boy than when you're dressed as Poison Ivy, and that's terrifying.
That is a welcome to the patriarchy. Jeez.
It's horrible. Honestly, the only thing you get that's interesting, just to forewarn anyone also thinking about doing this, when you're dressed as a dude, is that if you're too good at it and you look too much like a dude, you may get hit on by girls. And that's only funny because you're not 100% sure if they know you're a chick and are hitting on you because they're gay, which is fine, or if you're casually catfishing them unintentionally right now. And it's working out whether or not you go, I am a girl. That's where it gets really uncomfortable. You get fangirls come up and they start like rubbing your arm and chatting to you, and you're like, do they know?
I see, but then that's equally as unacceptable. Like, it is some again creepy. You just walk up to a random stranger, but also like, I don't think it just should matter whether you're a guy or a girl. You don't do that. But like, oh god, so there's like a brief glimmer of hope, and then it's just cruelly snatched away almost.
It's fine. I'm never intimidated by it because I've never been hit on in a horrible way. When I've been dressed as a guy, you'll just get people there chatting to you, and then like the way they're talking to you, you can tell they're like casually dipping their toe in the water and trying to flirt with you, and you're like, oh. It only becomes uncomfortable because you have that moment of, do they know I'm a girl? Or
your life is like your life is on a dude. Your life is basically like a Shakespearean comedy at this point.
And I often have to run off and go back to Carl, and he's like, oh, are you okay? He's always confused when I run up to him in a panic dressed as a dude, because he's like, I thought you were okay. So I like run up to him and I'm like, oh, that was awkward. And he's like, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I had 3 girls hit on me again. He's like, again?
Really? Where are they?
So, you know, just be aware of that. If you are going to cosplay as a boy, you have to be very comfortable with the idea that girls might come up and hit on you, and you have to work out if they know or not.
I think that's the word. That's the word of the day, folks. It's comfortable. We have to allow people to be comfortable, and you might be very comfortable hitting on some random stranger dressed in a cosplay that you like, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be comfortable. So let's try and make each other comfortable in equal measure, and just not make people feel unsafe, and not judge people unduly, and just fucking live and let live. Jeez. It's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not. And I'm really glad we had this conversation. I think we fixed it.
Yes, that's it. We fixed the world.
Yay, we fixed sexism! Woo! Celebrate good times. Come on!
And if you're listening to this and you feel comfortable and you feel confident to give it a go and try a sexy cosplay, do it.
Absolutely.
Contribute to that society.
Absolutely. And so when can the lovely capers hope to see you in any kind of cosplay, sexy or otherwise, at a convention? Anytime soon?
Probably not until May now. I'm taking a little bit of a break. which
I
know
can't imagine
sounds
why.
weird. Yeah, taking a little bit of a break to regroup. You can find me at WordPress. That's where I'm at puttygeeks.wordpress.com, where I'm writing about cosplay more often now. And there is a post on there about how my cosplay will be changing in the future and when you can find me at a con.
Yeah. And you can watch many videos of her interviewing or giving cosplay hints and tips about cosplay on a Place to Hang Your Cape or a Place to Hang Your Cape's YouTube channel. We'll provide a link in the show notes and you can go and check out yourself. Kit, thank you very much for joining me today and talking about this very difficult but still very worthwhile conversation topic.
Thank you, and thanks for having me again.
Not a problem. And if you enjoy the show, Capers, please tell your friends, shout it from the rooftops! And if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of our other super episodes, like the very first time we had Kit on talking about cosplay in general. And you can listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Spotify, or at podcapers.com. We have a Patreon. Check out the rewards at patreon.com /AP2HYC. If you want to get in touch with us, suggest show topics, or maybe come on the show yourself, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ap2hyc.com, or email us at podcapers at ap2hyc.com. Thank you very much to Dan Harris for our logo, the lovely microphone, the Ready 3D glasses. Those are mine. I've just realised I probably messed up most of the social media handles or most of the things to do with Place to Hang Your Cape, but I don't really care because this has been Podcapers, the official podcast of A Place to Hang Your Cape. Cue the music!